Have you ever wanted to start a podcast and just didn't know where to go to get your journey started? Well, look no further than Anchor Podcasting. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast, and it gives you everything you need for free in one spot, which you can use right from your computer or a mobile device if you need to record on the go. Creation tools allow you to edit and record your podcast to make it sound the best possible way for your audience and listeners. And they'll also distribute your podcast for you, so you don't have to go through the hassle of talking to different platforms in order to get your podcast through to everybody you wish. This includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. You can easily make money through Anchor Podcasting, and it doesn't require minimum listenership. So once you get started and set up, money can flow in from all directions. So if you're ready to get started, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.fm to get your ball rolling and start your podcast journey. You're listening to the Touch 'Em Up podcast. I'm your host, Double M, and on today's episode, we're going to be breaking down CM Punk's return to the WWE and what it could mean for future events. And we're going to be breaking down the best matchups to make in the welterweight division, 170 pounds in the UFC. So if you're ready, let's get this started and step into the ring. Hey guys, how's everybody doing tonight? I hope you're excited about this podcast. I know I'm very excited about it, especially when it comes to our big topic for the day, and which is CM Punk returning to WWE. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, he's not actually back in WWE. He's just on WWE Backstage and works for Fox. Yeah, okay, that's true. But you're around WWE employees. You're talking about the WWE product. And listen, he's going to make an in-ring return. I don't know if it'll be multiple matches. I don't know if it'll be one match. But you will see CM Punk wrestle by WrestleMania 36. Mark my words. I know some people are saying that, since Survivor Series is in Chicago, he'll probably make his return there. I mean, it would be a perfect spot, but I just think, I don't think that's where it's going to happen. Maybe we'll get like a little cameo from him, but I don't see him coming out wrestling for sure. I don't see him wrestling at Survivor Series, and I don't see him coming back until probably the Royal Rumble, but this has been a long time in the making. A lot of people thought we would never get this. They thought that Punk was, never going to come back to the WWE. After that podcast he did with Colt Cabana talking about how WWE sent him his resignation papers on his wedding day, and they constantly made him wrestle when he was sick, physically ill. He thought he could die because he had a staph infection. I could be wrong. I know he had something wrong back then, and he said the doctors, Dr. Joseph Moran, I believe, was the one he kept bringing up, said that, he kept saying he was fine and, there's nothing wrong with him and he's okay, but he wasn't. And if you haven't heard that podcast, go back and listen to it. The Colt Cabana Art of Wrestling podcast with CM Punk. I'm pretty sure that was what it was called. I've met Punk twice, just, in the last couple of years, and super nice guy, from the same area as me. I mean, obviously Punk's a huge name. I was hoping, his UFC career would go a little bit better, but, he lost his first two fights. But give the guy credit. I mean, he went into the best organization in the world and trained with some of the top guys in some of the divisions, like guys at his gym at Rufus Sport in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where he trained out of. He had guys like Tyron Woodley, Anthony Showtime Pettis, Ben Askren. I'm pretty sure, I want to say Macy Barber trained at Rufus Sport, but I could be wrong there. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But, everybody had said, Punk's not coming back, and then everyone's like, well, some people are like, oh, well, time heals all wounds and he'll eventually make his return. And here we go. This is getting the ball rolling. And, just the way he made his entrance on WWE Backstage, where they announced that there was going to be a surprise, and then you heard the and the cult of personality kicked in. Punk came out, the lights were on. It was like he was making his entrance. He got into the ring and he looked into the camera and he said, "Just when you think you have the answer, I change the culture." I don't really know what that's supposed to mean, but kudos to him, and I'm excited that he's back. I know he'll be on the talk show, most likely. It's been in the works for a while. It was just really refreshing and surprising to see him come back. But the question is, when will he make his actual return, his full-on return to WWE? When is it going to happen? And, I feel like the best way, everyone's going to say Survivor Series because it's in Chicago and maybe he could be a member on the Raw or SmackDown team in the elimination match or help somebody get a win or something like that or come out and make an entrance. I don't think it's going to happen. I know it's probably perfect timing and everything that Survivor Series is in Chicago and stuff like that, but I don't expect it to happen like that. And here's why. Punk returning is going to be the biggest thing in professional wrestling in the last 5 years. But aside from, AEW, having Cody Rhodes starting up his own company and everything, CM Punk's return is going to get people talking. It's going to bring people back to the product that left before, saying, it's not as edgy as it once was when Punk was on and stuff like that. It's going to bring people back. It's going to get people talking. And honestly, the best way to go about this return is obviously set him up with a match at WrestleMania. Who it's going to be against, I don't know. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But you got to have him have a match at WrestleMania, and you have to have him come in at the Royal Rumble. I mean, I feel like the WWE backstage thing, as long as they don't make it too obvious that he's going to come back, and to be honest, we could all be, completely out of our minds here and say that Punk's not going to wrestle. It's just for WWE backstage. He works for Fox. He's not technically employed under WWE. If you don't think that him and Triple H and Vince McMahon have been talking before he made this debut on the Fox show on WWE Backstage, then I don't know what rock you've been living under, but they definitely have something in the works. And it could be Survivor Series. It would work. I'd love to see it. And, a lot of fans would probably pass out from a heart attack if they heard Cult of Personality and CM Punk came out at Survivor Series. But honestly, the best thing to book, this is how, I'm not going to go through like a whole thing of how I would book it and this and that and yada, yada, yada. But here's what I would do if I was in charge. Is you have Punk enter the Royal Rumble at number 30. Go back and think, when was the last time in the Royal Rumble we had a number 30 entrant that just kind of shocked everyone and gave us a holy shit moment? When was the last time? It's been a while. I want to say probably, 2010 Edge wasn't number 30. Wasn't Edge like number 29 or 28? And then you had Rey Mysterio come out to number 30 a few years ago. You had Dolph Ziggler come out to number 30 last year, I'm pretty sure, or the year before. And they just haven't used the number 30 spot to really bring somebody out that was like, holy shit. Like, wow, I can't believe they did this. And I think this is the year to do it. You've got to do it with Punk. You have to have him come out at number 30. He doesn't have to win the Royal Rumble, even though that'd probably, be the best option for Punk would be for him to win the Royal Rumble and challenge for the championship at WrestleMania. I don't think, if he's in a match at WrestleMania, I don't think it's going to be for the championship. I think they're going to hold off him winning the title for a little bit. Maybe he only comes back for one match, who knows? But if he's going to have a WrestleMania match, I think it's got to be 3 people. A lot of people are saying Triple H. No, Triple H. It makes sense with the story because, him and Triple H have had a lot of issues in the past. And, with everything, if you listen to, like I said, the Cole Cabana podcast with CM Punk, he talks a lot about Triple H on there. And he's brought up his, disdain for Triple H in the past and how he feels like Triple H always wanted to hold him back and wanted to have the spotlight instead of giving the spotlight to a guy like Punk. And, you gotta narrow it down to a few people. I could see it being Seth Rollins facing CM Punk at WrestleMania 36. I could see him facing AJ Styles at WrestleMania 36. And, those are the 2 big ones that pop out in my head are Rollins and Styles. Somebody mentioned The Undertaker. And to be honest, if you were going to do anything with Punk and The Undertaker, it would have had to happen at WrestleMania 29. He would have had to beat The Undertaker and end the streak there before Brock Lesnar got his hands on it. And that's the thing. I mean, you could even possibly do Lesnar versus Punk at WrestleMania. I'd love to see them have a match again. But the biggest match in terms of like star power today and bringing him up and being like, oh my God, I can't wait. It would have to be Styles or Rollins. It has to be one of those 2 guys. And if it's going to be based on big fight feel, then you do the Lesnar or the Taker one. If I had to pick between Rollins, Styles, Undertaker, and Lesnar, the one I want to see the most is AJ Styles. The one that makes the most sense would probably have to either be, at this current point in time, it would either have to be Seth or Lesnar. Those would be the two ones that made probably the most sense, just because Seth just lost the Universal title to Bray Wyatt, and if he's going on Raw, it would be for the WWE title. Lesnar's got the WWE title right now, and I don't know who he's going to drop it to. I mean, I don't think he'll drop it for a little while yet. He might hold it all the way up until WrestleMania 36. I don't think he will, but I could see them having him hold the title that long. But I think that the top three guys who Punk could face at Mania would be Lesnar, Styles, Rollins. Undertaker would work, but Undertaker at Mania now, like, it's still cool, but it's kind of just like there's really no point. He lost, and just let the guy ride off into the sunset. I mean, he doesn't have to come back and wrestle again. There's really no point to seeing it. But number one pick, I know we've been on this, who out of these three, who would you pick? The number one pick I would say for him at WrestleMania would probably, just based on match alone, if there's no title attached to it, it has to be AJ Styles. You've got to do Punk and Styles. And, Styles is on Raw with the OC now. I'm sure if they bring Punk back, it's going to be to Monday Night Raw. So Punk and Styles at WrestleMania 36, without a title, it doesn't matter. That's the match to make. That's the best match to make. And that's what I would go. That's how I would go about it. And that way, if you do bring Punk back in the Royal Rumble, let's say he enters at number 30, he comes out, he eliminates a few people. Maybe it's down to like the final four, and you get Punk, you get Styles, you get, I have no idea. The Royal Rumble's so far away. I have no clue who could win. Well, we'll do this way. This is going to be my final four. We're going to do Punk, Styles, Aleister Black, and you got to put one big guy in there. So let's put, you got to have like one powerhouse. There's always a powerhouse at the end of a Royal Rumble. So we're going to go Strowman. I'm going to put Strowman in the final four. So we got, if this was, and obviously my predictions from now until then, until January could change, but the final four in the Rumble could be Punk, Styles, Aleister Black, Braun Strowman. Have everybody team up and get Strowman out of there. You're down to Black, Punk, and Styles. Have Punk and Styles work together on Black for a little bit, like haha funny, and then have Styles eliminate Punk. Then you build it up like, okay, you SOB, like, you want to eliminate me in the Rumble in my big return? I'll show you. And then you build up the match from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania between Punk and Styles. And you have one of the best matches in recent years, I think, depending on how good Punk looks when he gets back into the ring. It's been a while. We don't know how good Punk would look coming back, into the ring. But I just think Punk and Styles, that's what you got to do it that way. And then you could have Black win the Royal Rumble. Honestly, my pick right now is to have Aleister Black win the Royal Rumble. I know he's out with an injury, but I read something that said it's not expected to keep him out for that long. I think you got to give the Royal Rumble to a guy that isn't a main star already. This is the mistake that they make with the Royal Rumble. The best Royal Rumble was 2018. 2019 had a great Rumble, and Rollins winning made 100% perfect sense. But they haven't had a match where you give a guy the win who isn't expected to win, and it's a breath of fresh air. They did it with Shinsuke Nakamura. That's probably one of my favorite Royal Rumble matches from top to bottom, booking style and everything. It was just perfect, I feel like. But you got to give it to a dark horse, a guy who they can push to the moon, and that guy is Aleister Black. Black should definitely win the Royal Rumble, and you don't have to agree, but you could build up Black versus The Fiend at WrestleMania 36 for the Universal title. You could have Black versus Lesnar at WrestleMania, or if Lesnar drops the title to somebody up until WrestleMania, which he probably will. Black in the main event against The Fiend is the best match you could make for a WrestleMania, and it's a match too big to waste on any other show. So you have to do it at Mania. Even if it's not for the title, and let's say Black doesn't win the Rumble, Black versus Fiend is an amazing match, and it should be that way. But if you have The Fiend hold the Universal title from now up until Mania, have him destroy everybody. I know it's not too long of a reign, but it's not so long to the point where you're like, oh my God, like get this over with. And then Black takes the Universal title off of The Fiend. I mean, I know they're on separate shows, because Black is on Raw and The Fiend is now on SmackDown. But do you guys remember what the Royal Rumble used to be? It was somebody winning a show and they got to choose the title. They weren't automatically, because they were on SmackDown, they had to fight for the WWE title or the Universal title now. Or because they're on Raw, they got to fight for, back then, the World Heavyweight title and now the WWE Championship. You got to pick. So Black could win the Rumble as a SmackDown or as a Raw superstar and be like, you know what? With all due respect to a guy like Brock Lesnar, I have like a little bit of I don't even know what I was going to say, but I have like a little bit of unfinished business with somebody, and I've been asking for people to pick a fight, so I'm hoping that he'll let me in. Something like that. I mean, it'd be a lot better than that. That was kind of crappy, but... And then you could have at WrestleMania, you could do Punk Styles, you could have Fiend, Aleister Black, you could have Lesnar versus, I have no idea who Lesnar would face. Oof, if I'm just going to pick one person right now, let's go Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre. And then obviously some big matches, if Undertaker decides to wrestle, which I hope not. And some guys from NXT will probably get the call up between now and then. That's what you got to do. You got to do it that way. And Punk versus Styles at a WrestleMania is the biggest match you could give to CM Punk. Either that or Lesnar, like I said. But Punk and Styles booked that way into the Royal Rumble, where Punk doesn't have to win, but they use the Rumble match as an angle to set up, his WrestleMania match, and it doesn't make him look weak in his return. That's how you do it. And that's what you got to do. But that's it for the CM Punk stuff. I mean, We'll find out more as the weeks go on and as we get closer, but I guarantee you he's having one more match. I can guarantee that. I was going to talk about AEW and NXT. I know we haven't brought it up ever since I haven't really covered a lot of wrestling lately on the podcast, and it's not that wrestling hasn't been good lately, and it's not that we don't have such a big product and so many things to go over. We do. We have freaking NXT War Games and Survivor Series coming up next weekend. I'm pretty sure it's next weekend. And you've got some of the best cards, and they're going to be in Chicago, and I'm not going to be there, and I'm pretty salty about it. But you know what? This is breaking my tradition, because I've been to both NXT TakeOver Chicagos, and this is going to be the first one I'm missing, unless something changes between now and then, and I somehow get some tickets and find a way. But this is going to be a good card. And we've got the War Games match, which is... We've got the Undisputed Era, Cole, Fish, O'Reilly, and Strong versus Ciampa, Dijakovic, Keith Lee, and one other guy. And the question is, who's it going to be? Shout out to my boy Vinny, who who said that it was Dijak, but Dijak was already announced. But we'll figure it out, man, and we'll get you on the podcast soon. Don't worry about it. Who could be a fourth guy? I would honestly, it can't be Pete Dunne, because Dunne apparently is having a match with Killian Dane and Damian Priest in a triple threat. I'm sure it'll be good, but I don't know about that as a match, to be honest. I think Dunne's too good for that. I think you could do more with Pete Dunne. I don't know who you put in as that fourth guy. I mean, Riddle, it was also announced that Matt Riddle and Finn Balor are going to have a match. It was going to be Balor versus Gargano, which I think would have been a better match. But Riddle and Balor is just as good. And they're going to tear the house down. They're going to be able to gel well together. I feel like their styles mesh well together. You got to give the win to Balor here, just because he's coming back into NXT. He's forming his new heel persona. You got to have him win. He's got to win against Matt Riddle, but they're going to put on an amazing match. I don't know who you put as the fourth guy in this War Games match. Like we said, you've got Dijak, Keith Lee, and Tommaso Ciampa. You need one more guy. Pete Dunne would have fit perfectly as a guy. Velveteen Dream would fit perfectly, but he's on the shelf due to an injury right now, I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong, then put in Velveteen Dream. But he's on the shelf, like I said, with an injury. So who would you pick for your fourth guy? And it's a tough go, man. I mean, I don't know. Who could you put up in a match that's this big that doesn't have anything, tied to their name right now? It can't be Gargano. He's hurt. Like they said, Gargano's out of the War Games match. That's why Riddle is in with Finn Balor. I don't know, man. You gotta... Who's on NXT who could fill this spot right now? This is tough, man. I didn't really think it was going to be this hard to pick a fourth guy because I was going to pick Pete Dunne. But you can't because Dunne's in the triple threat. So you can't give it to an up-and-comer who's like not really well known. Let's see. Let's look up somebody who we think we could put in there. Come on. Let's see. What could we do here? What could we do? I mean, you could put Leo Rush in there, but that really wouldn't make any sense. And he's probably going to be defending his Cruiserweight Championship. So, man, tough call here to pick the fourth guy. Either you bring somebody in to make their debut on NXT. That's probably the best way to go about it. And if not, maybe bring in a guy from 205 Live is obviously tied into NXT now. Maybe you bring in freaking AJ Styles. You don't have to like it, and it probably wouldn't make that much sense. But I can't really think of anybody right now to take that spot. And if they put Styles in that match and you get Styles versus Styles, Dijakovic, Keith Lee, and Tommaso Ciampa versus the Undisputed Era, I mean, I know that can't really work, though, because Styles is, he attacked Ciampa and attacked the NXT roster with the OC, but maybe they just band together for this one match to take on the Undisputed Era and try to take him out. I mean, that's probably not who it's going to be at all. But if you have any other ideas, definitely leave them for me. Message me, comment on my posts on Instagram and stuff like that. Let me know, because I don't know who they're going to pick for this fourth guy. But yeah, I mean, War Games and Survivor Series, guys, I mean, that's coming up. Like I said, we just talked about it. And the only matches, and Survivor Series is looking like a good card too. You've got The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan. You've got Roderick Strong versus Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles in a triple threat match, all the mid-card champions. I heard that Shinsuke might lose his Intercontinental title between now and Survivor Series. If he does lose it, it probably would have been to Daniel Bryan, but Bryan's in a match against The Fiend, so that's probably not going to happen. But the best match of the night, in my opinion, is definitely going to be AJ Styles versus Nakamura versus Roderick Strong. That's going to be your match of the night at Survivor Series. And then you've got the traditional Survivor Series match between Raw and SmackDown. I don't know why they're not putting in the NXT guys. I mean, I understand a 5-on-5-on-5, a 15-man match would take forever, so I understand why they don't do it, but maybe you do like teams of 3, your top 3 from NXT, your top 3 from Raw, your top 3 from SmackDown, and do it that way. But, who knows? I'm not really sure how they would go about that. I think that would probably be the best way to go about it. And I know it was supposed to be originally Cole versus Lesnar versus The Fiend in a triple threat at Survivor Series. I don't know why they changed that idea, but then for the other championships, they do Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT. I'm sure Cole versus The Fiend versus Lesnar would have been a fine match. I mean, it was kind of a wonky match to put together, but I'm sure it would have been fine either way. And but Survivor Series, and then you've got Shayna Baszler versus Bayley versus Becky Lynch. I'm sure they'll put on a good match, So I don't know, but Survivor Series looks good. War Games looks like it's going to be great, and I hope we have a great weekend of wrestling for the Chicagoland area when this comes around in about 2 weeks. Man, I can't wait for it. Or 1 week, really, a week from Sunday, I think. So, yeah, I can't wait. And that's probably going to stop this part. I'm probably going to stop this part here, and then the second part of the podcast will be on mixed martial arts. So get ready and stay tuned for the second part, guys. All right.